Let's talk about friendship and what it really means. Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into my channel. I am Stacy of Stacy's Faith and Stars. Please remember to comment, like, share, and subscribe. So today I just want to take a few minutes just to talk to you all about friendship and what it really means to be a friend. And I just want to give you a little bit of backstory about what brought this video about. So a couple of weeks ago, I had the pleasure of speaking with a young lady who I'm close with, and she asked me for some advice, or rather I kind of offered my advice to her about a situation that she was going through with a coworker. And she considered this person to very much so be a good friend of hers, and it was really weighing heavy on her, the demise of this relationship, because she just felt like that the young lady was making a big deal out of a small situation, despite the fact that she had been inconvenienced, she had been not considered, and the young lady who I'm speaking of, who I know is the person who was being not considered and taken advantage of and just taken for granted. So I wanted her to kind of think about what friendship really meant, because in her mind, the person who she thought was her friend, it was breaking her heart. She was kind of distraught to a certain degree because she just felt like since she had apologized, the friendship had been willing to move on because it was something that was so small. She had attempted to apologize several times and the friend was very dismissive, and she just felt like, what more can I do, or should I move on? Am I overreacting? What am I missing? And I was able to talk her through this process. So I do want to take a few minutes just to talk about friendship and what it really means, because I think a lot of times we formulate this idea of what friendship means as children. And when we grow up to be adults, we still hang on to this ideology of what friendship should be, even though it's not true. I think a lot of times that we have the idea that friends are those who we are around a lot of times, be a classmate, a coworker, a church member, somebody in some type of group or organization that we're in. Those people are people who we have something in common with, but they aren't always necessarily our friends. And I find that a lot of times it's females, young girls who grow up to be women, who have this skewed idea of what friendship should be. From my experience and talking this conversation through a while back with my husband, and we were just talking about how men have the idea of friendship. They view it differently from women. Men see friendship from the concept of, I've known this person for a long time. Not only have I just known this person for a long time, but this particular person have proven themselves to be a good friend. This person has been there for me when I needed them. This person has come through when I was in a pinch. This person has been there like through thick and thin, and not just because, I was somebody who could supply them with something that they needed. And so for women, I think it's different for us. We think that friends are the people who we associate with at work, people who we talk to at church, people who we just in general have things in common with. We automatically gift them with the label of being friend, whether they've proven themselves or not, or whether they are worthy of that label or not. And I think sometimes we just have a tendency to want to connect with people on a deeper level, for lack of a phrase, so desperately that we gift people with the label of friend, whether or not they are worthy, whether or not they have proven themselves. And a lot of times that's why women have this reputation of being catty and being, being gossipers and being this and being that. It's because you're associating with people who you only have something in common with, but who are really not your friends. To me, friends, for me, this is my personal opinion, friends are people who I consider to love me just as much as my siblings do. I'm very close with my siblings, especially my sisters, and when people come into my life, I kind of weigh them or judge them in a way. Would this person treat me like my sister would treat me? If a situation were to happen, would this person respond in a way that I know my sister would respond and have my back regardless of what's what? So I think we have to start questioning ourselves and analyzing the relationships that we have. When it comes to analyzing the relationships that we already have, I think you really need to ask yourself, if something were to go down, would this person have my back even if I'm not around? Would this person take up for me, stand up for me, even if they knew I would not be made known? The knowledge of this conversation wouldn't be made known to me. Would this person have my back regardless of what's what? Would this person hold me in high regard regardless of who's in the room? Whether they feel it's necessary to impress somebody or not, would they kind of throw me under the bus to lift themselves up? And I think a lot of times we don't ask ourselves these questions, and it's very necessary because it can save us a lot of heartache, especially if we learn this at a young age. I had the pleasure of talking about friendship around one of my younger nieces, and she said that she really needed to hear this conversation because she was struggling with understanding who was her friend, who is her friend, and who isn't her friend. And she would just hear people say things about her, or people who she would consider her true friend would come back and talk to her and say, oh, this person said this about you. But what I need her to understand is that even though that person came back to you to tell you that you were being talked about, what did your friend say to the person who was talking about you? And when you confronted the friend who was talking about you, what was his or her response? When the person has to kind of run around the truth to create an excuse as to why they were talking about you, what was said, you already know their character, you already know their heart. So I think it's important for us to focus on the relationships, and that's not to say no new friends, no new friends, no new friends, but I think we really need to limit the gifting of labeling people friends when they haven't proved themselves to be worthy. Just think about your friendships, think about people who are already in your life, who you've been neglecting, but who have been there through thick and thin, and you've kind of let that relationship fall off because you've been focusing on other things and other people versus focusing on the person or people who really love you, who've proven themselves time and time again, who you know have your back without a shadow of a doubt. You don't have to worry. You don't have to be concerned about, is this person going to say this or are they going to do that? You know this person has your back regardless. So I really feel like those are the kind of relationships that we need to focus on. Whether a person is your sister, your blood sister, your blood cousin, your blood relative. If that person has been there for you, that is your friend. It doesn't matter that you're necessarily related to them, but we get mixed up and start focusing on these relationships that really don't mean anything. We just happen to know these people by circumstance because we applied for a particular job and we are seated next to this person. That doesn't automatically make them my friend. Do we get along at work? Yeah. Do I want to call this person my friend? No, not yet. Just for simplicity's sake, when introducing a person to somebody, yes. But if something were to come up and we a situation were to come up and it caused us friction in our relationship, I wouldn't be heartbroken because I never held this person in such high esteem and high regard to actually think that they were my friend in the first place. So any type of friction that would happen between us, it really wouldn't make that big of a difference because, you know, she or he wasn't necessarily my friend. And I want to make myself clear, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm just saying, you know, throw all relationships away. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is be careful who you call your friend. Don't just gift people with the label of friend, but let that person prove themselves. Because I really feel like my friends are people who have been there for me through thick and thin, and it just so happens that those people are my blood relatives. And that's not to say that I don't have room in my life for any other friends, but to me those people have to prove themselves worthy, because I know I'm a great friend and I expect to be treated in a way that I would treat someone else. I'm not the type of friend that would, I'm not the type of person, and I don't I don't really deal with a lot of people on a level where every time they call me or reach out, they need something. And that's because I feel like if every time you call me or reach out, you need something, you really don't consider me a friend. You consider me a resource. So my idea of friendship, and this is just on a very fundamental level, is someone who reaches out every now and again just to say, hey, how are you doing? How's your heart? How's your spirit? What's going on with your family? You know, what's new? Not, can I have, I want, I need, things like that. I mean, it's like they takers is what it is. People who just constantly take. And they don't necessarily mean it from a malicious place. It's not coming from a malicious place, but they've always been a taker. So whenever they run into somebody who they feel like is a resource, they just take from that resource. So I just really want to encourage you to evaluate your relationships, to analyze whether or not those relationships actually are friendships. If those relationships are causing you more heartache than good, then it's like that person or people, those are not your friends. If the drama is waking you up at night, keeping you up at night, waking you up, you know, it's the first thing on your mind when you wake up, the last thing on your mind when you go to bed, that is not a relationship that you should really put too much effort into. If you've already tried to apologize, you've already, you know, reached out, don't beg anybody to be a part of your life, ever. If they want to be a part of your life, it's because they see value in you, it's because they love you, it's because they want to be a part of your life, and that comes from a genuine place. So I hope this video helped somebody. I love you all with the love of Jesus Christ, and remember, let your faith empower you to reach for the stars.